Good morning, folks, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 11th of February. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Johnny McFarlane. How are we doing, Johnny?
Good, mate. Good. Glad to be on.
Yeah, good to have you on. And before we begin, folks, and look ahead to tomorrow's Scottish Cup tie against Annan Athletic. If you haven't already done so, if you're watching us on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss a video when we go live. So many of you are, so thank you very much for doing so. And if you want to take advantage of the Rangers Review site itself, I very much urge you to do so to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. And also, if you head over to our Twitter account, we've got a great competition on that ends at 4 p.m. this afternoon when a winner will be drawn at random for a first-team home jersey. So head over to our Twitter account and find the details on that. Okay, a lot of comments coming in already, Johnny, but I wanted to begin with, before we look ahead to tomorrow's game, bit of news coming out yesterday from Romania. Eddie Iordanescu, who's just been appointed as a Romania manager, says he expects Yanis Hagi to be unavailable for 5 to 6 months, which would mean he would miss the start of next season after undergoing knee surgery last month. It's a blow, of course, already losing Hagi for the remainder of the season, but it now looks likely that he's going to miss the start of next season. That's a big blow, isn't it?
It is. He's someone that you would have to imagine is part of the long-term strategy. Now, I think he's only got a year left on his contract at the end of the season. So I think Hagi himself and the club will probably look to agree a new deal on that. I would certainly hope so. He seems very happy in Glasgow and with the club. And given the situation with Joe Aribo, also only got 1 year left in his deal in the summer, I would imagine Aribo will be sold for quite a large sum to someone in the English divisions. And that frees up that space as a sort of attacking midfield player, I think, which Yanis Hagi was born to play. I know he's been hot and cold, but I don't think there's any doubt amongst the supporters, and certainly here at the Rangers Review ourselves, that Yanis Hagi is an immense talent. His numbers last season were absolutely terrific. If you drill down into the detail of the goals and assists, he was contributing so much. And you can only expect that to improve as he gets more used to Scottish football, as he gets more experience in the game. So he's definitely someone you would have wanted to be available for this title run. It's not going to be the case now, but it's difficult when you miss the pre-season, especially under a new manager. And Giovanni van Bronckhorst, it'll be his first pre-season. So it's a real shame. I would have really liked to have seen him be a key part of what Rangers are trying to do next year. We all know there's going to be a massive rebuild of this club. Well, not the club, but of the squad in the summer. And I would imagine Yanis Hagi would be a key part of that for Giovanni van Bronckhorst. So, yeah, there's no doubt, Derek, it's a blow. I mean, you've had your ups and downs with Yanis Hagi, mate, but overall, you've kind of always backed him. Do you share these?
Yeah, well, CGM55 points out that he has been fairly poor this season. He hasn't had his best of seasons, there's no doubt about it, but he's still capable of producing moments of real quality. And I think he's a big miss. Of course he is if he's not available in the team. There's no doubt about it. So, yeah, we wish him all the very best in his recovery, and hopefully he's back fighting fit sooner than expected. But yeah, Yanis Hagi looks likely to miss the start of next season, folks. Let's move on to, of course, the game tomorrow. Now, Giovanni van Bronckhorst will be speaking to myself and various other members of the press later on. Looking ahead to that game, we'll bring you all the details of that, folks, on the website. But we are expecting changes, Johnny, aren't we? Wholesale changes, perhaps, for this game, given the quality of opposition and the fact that a number of players, i.e. Aaron Ramsey, need game time.
Yeah, I mean, Giovanni van Bronckhorst was pretty open about that. There was going to be changes in this one, and that's completely understandable and correct. There's so many games in this run-in that are going to be facing the club. You can't be going up against a lower division opponent and not mixing it up a little bit. It would be ridiculous to do that. So it's clear we're going to see a much changed team, and there's players there that need minutes. At the forefront of that is Aaron Ramsey, who is a player who has not signed to sit on the bench. You need to get him back as soon as possible. He's had a couple little cameos. Now it's time to get him in from the beginning, and it's absolutely obvious that this is the game to do that. You've got players like Ahmad as well, who I think needs to be integrated into the team. He's got to start, although you'll have to be careful against Annan, and I imagine they're going to be quite physical when you've got that plastic pitch. That's the only thing that I would say about Ramsey. With it being a plastic pitch, it depends on how he feels about that. But a lot of players don't mind it. Some players, especially if they've had knee injuries in their career, aren't so keen. So I think if he doesn't start, although I do think he will, if he doesn't, it will be because of that plastic pitch. Other players that I'd like to see get some game time, Derek. I think Borna Barisic needs to start at left back because you need to start rebuilding his confidence, and perhaps this is a place where you're likely to get a clean sheet. So I think that goes without saying. Jack Simpson needs to come in, I think, as well, probably alongside Connor Goldson. I know Connor Goldson never gets a break, but it makes sense for me to bring Simpson in, give him a chance to get some minutes. And the new right back, whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce yet because I've still really not got my head round it.
Matej Zakowski.
Polish lad. Zakowski, yeah. So I think he'll start. Listen, it's Annan Athletic. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Rangers' second team, Rangers B team should probably take care of Annan Athletic. Obviously, that would be a much closer game, and you'd be much less happy about the result of that. But certainly, Rangers' second string amongst our first team should have more than enough, mate.
Yeah, I agree with a number of changes on Borna Barisic. I mean, he had a clean sheet in midweek, but he wasn't great, was he? I'm not too sure what the issue is with him. It's a mentality thing, of course.
I think we need to be fair on mate because sorry to interrupt, but I think Gio was right in saying that it's very difficult to be like, Borna, you're on. Like, no warm up, 14 minutes into the game, Borna, you're on, and you've just literally got to throw your stuff off and get out on the pitch. And you know yourself, you've played football, Derek. If you don't warm up, I mean, number one, I'd fall over like calf pains a lot if I didn't warm up. I need to warm up for about an hour before I start a game of fives. But he's a top class athlete, so I'm sure it's nowhere near as bad. But you're still going to have that 5 to 10 minute period where you're a wee bit getting yourself up to speed with the game. And I felt he was really shaky for that 10-minute spell. But as the game went on, he looked better and better. And by the end, I thought he was fine.
Yeah, listen, I want him back up to the Borna Barisic we all know that he can play at. But I just think it's going to take supporters a lot to forgive that display at Parkhead. It was, we all seen it, and I think that's weighing heavily on him. He's clearly short of confidence, but if he plays on Saturday, I think he needs another St Mirren free kick moment, Johnny, something like that, just to get him back, because he is a confidence player, isn't he? And he's short of it at the moment. Good question coming in here from Graham Hannah. Is it worth the risk to play Goldson on Saturday? No Balogun or Helander for the game in Dortmund. Says you might need to see Sands, Simpson or King in case they're needed soon. It's a tough one. Goldson pretty much plays every game. I think he's missed 10 games in his Rangers career. He made 200 appearances in midweek, which is incredible.
It's a good point, though. Can you imagine if Goldson picked up some kind of injury on that plastic pitch? It's a very good point from that point of view. The question is, I suppose, would you be happy and confident even against Annan if you had a defence of Jack Simpson and James Sands? Yeah, I would be. I would be totally confident. But if things started to go wrong, I don't know. It's a great point from Graham. And what do you think, Derek?
Ideally, yes, I would have no qualms of playing if it's Sands or Simpson or even Bassey in there at centre back. I think Bassey will play.
You could play Bassey and Simpson, I suppose.
Yeah.
Although Simpson's left-sided, so...
Yeah,
one of them would be slightly out of position.
At the end of the day, I mean, I think Annan will Annan have a go. I'm not too sure that will they try and lump balls forward and have a right go at Rangers. I'm not too sure. Rangers play three at the back, perhaps, or something like that, and experiment. I think there should be a number of changes. And you've seen a comment coming in saying that Alex Lowry and Leon King should get game time. Would you go along with that, Johnny? Would you like to see Alex Lowry start in this game?
I'd love to see Leon King get a bit of game time. I've got to be honest. Everyone I've talked to is so positive about his chances of making a real impact. It's not quite the way Danny Wilson was discussed. I remember when Danny Wilson came through, for a long time you were hearing murmurs and rumours of this incredibly talented kid coming through. But Leon King has certainly got a lot of hype going on around him. And sometimes with these kids, you just don't really know until you throw them in and see what they can do when the heat is on. And I think it would be great to see him get some game time. And if they really, really have no faith in Simpson, then you'd be better off going with King and Goldson, to be honest, and giving King the opportunity to show what he can do. But maybe that's a good point. Maybe that's a good point about Goldson. But as you say, he just doesn't miss games, does he? I'm starting to reconsider my lineups for the game now. That's giving me food for thought.
Yeah, we'll have our predicted lineups out ahead of the game, folks. So you'll find those on the Rangers review website. I wanted to touch on a piece that yeah, it certainly doesn't. That Joshua Barry has on the website this morning, Johnny, where he talks about who replaces Leon Balogun. We've yet to find out the true extent of his injury, and he suggests would Rangers maybe regret not bringing in John Souttar in January. Now, we'd like to believe asked Giovanni Van Bronckhorst regarding Phil Hollander, and he's hopeful he'll be involved in the matchday squad at the weekend. So you're hoping, of course, that he could be a potential replacement if Balogun's injury is more serious than expected. Where do you stand on that? It leaves Rangers a little bit short again if Balogun's out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got to say, I don't think Rangers did anything wrong. In fact, I think they got it spot on. The only way you'll be able to say that Rangers got it wrong is if Connor Goldson was to break down and not play for the rest of the season, because Souttar is a Connor Goldson-like player. You know, he brings the ball out from the back. He's got a good range of passing. He's a defensive leader. That's who he is. I see him as a replacement for Connor Goldson. Yeah. So if you brought him in now, I don't think he would play. I don't think he's quite as good as Connor Goldson, to be honest. Now, he might well be. I think he's as good as Connor Goldson was when Connor Goldson pitched up at Ibrox. But you need to experience playing for Rangers, experience playing in Europe for a couple of years, and then we'll see how good John Souttar is. He's certainly very, very promising, and I think he can be a great player for the club.
Yeah.
But for me, I just don't think he would have played, and I don't think it's worth allowing yourself to be held to ransom for a fee you don't think a player's worth.
Yeah.
You put a value on it. That's what you pay Ross Wilson the big bucks to do, to say this is what this player's worth. And if you start going above that, then I don't think it's good business practice. I think Hearts were offered a good sum of money for the player, given he has 6 months left. They chose it wasn't enough, and they would rather keep him. They played hardball on it, which they are absolutely entitled to do. Fair enough. That's what they wanted to do. They had a choice to make, and they took it. But why should Rangers say, well, you want to pay Hearts valuation? There's no reason to. And you know yourself, Derek, we saw it with Dundee and Glenn Kamara. Dundee knew they needed the money, even though it was a pittance, and they left it till the very end of the transfer window and then pushed the button on it because it was the only show in town. It was that or nothing. And Rangers were right to think that Hearts might do the same. And if they didn't, well, he's not going to play anyway ahead of Connor Goldson. Connor Goldson, as you correctly pointed out, he's missed 10 or 11 games in his entire Rangers career. So yeah, I just don't think that's a go or that argument personally.
Yeah.
I think Rangers have 4 centre halves. They've got Goldson on one side who's going to play all the time, Leon Balogun who can play either side, and then you've got the 2 left-sided defenders in Simpson and Helander.
Yeah.
The one area maybe I could see more, Derek, would have been Gio pushing the button on bringing back Katic. Why is that different? Well, it's different because he's Rangers player. It's different because Gio hasn't seen him, so he hasn't seen him in training, doesn't know where he's at. It's different because Katic is a known quantity in Scottish football. He's a known quantity for Rangers, so you've got a sense of, absolute understanding of what he's going to perform. I'm not saying that John Souttar isn't, but just in terms of how he's going to perform for Rangers because we've seen him do it.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have been ideal either because I don't think Katic would have played that much either. But that would have given. I could see why you would want to why it would make sense because then Gio gets a chance to look at him and work with him and know what he's going to do come the summer when he's got a year left on his contract.
Yeah.
But I said at the time I didn't think they should bring him back. This is all brilliant in hindsight and all the rest of it with the injuries, but realistically a decision was made and I thought it was a correct decision at the time, and now Katic isn't here. I do know there's a lot of fans that feel that Katic should be back amongst that squad. He's a fan's favourite, and you can understand why because he's a wholehearted player.
Yeah, but we'll get a clearer picture, folks, when Giovanni Van Bronckhorst conducts his press conference this afternoon, and we'll give you the latest on the injury front. Just wanted to touch on this question, John, with regards to team selection for Saturday. James Skeens says he'd like Roof on, needs to get his goals going again. He's one, perhaps like we talked about Hadji earlier, that hasn't really got going this season. Again, injury-plagued season, frustrating for him, not really get a run of games. He has contributed now and again, but Rangers need more from him.
I don't know how you can get Roof into the team when Morelos is playing the way he is. I mean, Roof's showing nothing. That's the honest truth. I thought he was really poor against Celtic. And in the last maybe 15 games, what has Kemar Roof contributed? When has he come on and looked like a game changer? We know he can be that, but it's not been there. So it's up to Kemar Roof. He's got all the talent in the world. I mean, I think he's actually... I don't know, people will probably laugh at me for saying this, but genuinely, I think he's a more complete player in a lot of ways than Alfredo Morelos. In terms of, I think he's a better finisher. Yeah. I think he's more intelligent tactically. He doesn't have, obviously, the rampaging Buffalo element, which is why he's not as effective. He doesn't have the unchecked physicality, which is why he's not as effective. But I think in terms of skill set, Kemar Roof is probably the best striker at the club. So it's up to him. He just has to go out and grab it. But I don't know. There's something about Kemar Roof this season. I don't know if maybe it's Steven Gerrard leaving. He just doesn't look to me the same player. I don't know about you, Derek.
Yeah, he's. I mean, he was good last season. Again, it was. Injuries have played him throughout his career. Yeah. He had a lot more contribution last season. It may very well be that the Gerrard factor. But then again, Roy Mackay's there. You're thinking, look at the difference in Alfredo Morelos. How can that not have happened with Kemar Roof? It's an interesting one, but something's not quite clicking for him at the moment. Another one, I've seen some comments saying that Cedric Eaton should play tomorrow. He's another one that's not taking his chance. I don't think he's Rangers. I'm not up to Rangers class. John.
Honestly, I don't mean to be cruel. I just don't see Cedric Eaton as a Rangers class player. And Ali Quinn's pointed on it there, which I think is an absolute point. Listen, Fashion Sakala, every time he comes on, he scores or he does something. He's got flaws in his game. He's an unpolished diamond, Sakala. But I would take a guy who works his backside off and shows enthusiasm and just causes defenders perpetual problems every day of the week. I would say Sakala is your number 2 striker behind Morelos. Now, I know they offer completely different kind of skill sets. Like Sakala's not really a target man, although he is a lot better in the air than people give him credit for. But to me, I would like to see Sakala get a bit more game time, be a bit more part of things, because whenever he does get an opportunity, you saw against Hearts what a blooming finish that was. One touch, ball in the back of the net within seconds. It's a really difficult thing to do, what he did there. I just think you have to give him a chance and persevere with him. I think he's shown enough.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what the guys think in the comments on that. I know that people like Sakala because he's such a likable force for positivity whenever he appears in the media, even on the pitch. You can tell he's loving life as a Ranger. But I think he's done enough on the pitch, on the grass. Yeah. It's not just that.
Yeah, though I totally agree. He's contributed when he's come off the bench recently as well. When he first arrived, he was really raw. I mean, he's still raw at times. His final ball lets him down on occasion, but it just adds a bit of dynamism. Even when he came on against Celtic in midweek, last midweek, of course, he was driving it at the defence. He was trying to create opportunities, which was more than can be said of the likes of Ahmad. I just want to touch on Ahmad. Will he start tomorrow, Johnny? I
think so. I think he's got to. I mean, as I said yesterday, I've got my concerns about Ahmad, just about his size, and I know that probably makes me something. I'm sort of verging into sort of 1990s tabloid journalist dinosaur here, but I've seen it happen a lot of times in Scottish football. You really have to have the quality to make an impact when you're that size. And I saw against Ross County, there's no doubt that Ahmad has the quality. There's no doubt about that. But there's also no doubt in my mind that the sort of roughhouse tactics people will adopt against him will make his life very, very difficult. I can see why Manchester United wanted to send him up to Scotland, because it's the kind of thing, it toughens you up for what you're going to face down there. But again, I think he has to play. I mean, you just look at his value to Manchester United, what they paid for him. They're not going to send him up on loan to Rangers if they don't think he's going to get game time, he's going to get minutes, he's going to get an opportunity. So this would be a great chance to get him in that team, and I think they'll do that.
Yeah. It's, I'm looking forward to seeing him running out the Galabank, I think it is, at the Annan. It's 37 million.
Actually, one of the few grounds I've not been to.
Yeah, same here.
So I've seen it, obviously, TV pictures. It doesn't look the most glamorous of. But listen, they'll love it.
Yeah.
Good atmosphere.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. Of course, I think it's on Premier Sports as well tomorrow at 5:30 kickoff. So Rangers back in action then. That'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for getting in touch as ever. Remember to stay tuned to the Rangers Review site, folks. We'll have all the fallout from Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's press conference later on, and the player that Rangers put up to speak to the press as well. And if you want to subscribe to the website as well, I very much urge you to do so. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. Just £2.99 per month. Okay, we'll be back on Monday to review Saturday night's game. But until then, enjoy your Friday and your weekend.